Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I wanted to come today and do a full review of the BK Beauty brushes. So I know that if you follow me, there's no way you don't follow Lisa J Makeup. So you probably have already heard lots about this because I've seen a lot of other YouTubers do reviews on these as well. But this is Lisa J Makeup's brand, BK Beauty. The B and the K stand for Be Kind. The whole premise behind the brand, the reasoning behind it, the money that she gives to charity that focuses on kindness and teaching children kindness. I cannot speak enough about that. It's something that has really gone by the wayside in our world lately, I feel like. And I don't feel like it should be as hard to teach our children kindness as it is, because they are bombarded with so much. I mean, it is like, it's hard to raise kids in this day and age. And so, you know, a kindness campaign, a kindness charity, kindness anything really speaks to my heart. So I love that. Also, Brooklyn and Kate are her children's names. She has two girls just like I do. So the B and the K, it just worked out perfect. Anywho, her first launch was makeup brushes. I actually have two sets. I purchased an entire set myself, and she also gifted me one, which thank you so much, Lisa. I am so excited because I love these so much. One has gone into my kit as my bridal brushes because they are luxurious as they get. And then another one is for me to use on the daily. So what I have done is I just recorded me doing the makeup that you see on my face right now, and I'm going to cut to that portion of my face as I tell you about the brush that I'm speaking of. So let's go ahead and get started. At the very end, I will tell you my top 3 favorites because you can buy these as singles. So you can buy the entire set, which is currently on the website $195. I will link everything down below. The eye brush set is currently $80 and the face brush set is currently $130. And then obviously you can purchase all of them singularly. So I'll be sure and write down how much they are as a single brush as I talk about them. First, let's look at the brushes. Beautiful, like maroon, reddish handle, a really gorgeous gold ferrule. And then you've got the vegan synthetic bristles. I love how different they are as far as how they're pinched at the ferrule. It makes a huge difference in application. And I have to say, probably one of my favorite things about the aesthetic of the brush is how she chose to name them. For instance, they have numbers instead of names. And I'm going to tell you why I love that so much. I cannot tell you how many countless makeup lessons I have done in this very room. And I go through every step of the makeup. We talked about why I picked what I picked, what brushes I used, and I get to a point where I use a brush that is very familiar to the client, and they're like, I never would have used that for this. It says blush brush on it. I thought you could only use it for blush. It happens all the time. Somebody sees a name of a brush or a name of a product and we get pigeonholed thinking that's the only way we can use it. Brushes are some of the most versatile parts of makeup in general. And that's what I love about them. So I do love that even though on the site they do have names, for instance, this one is the 101. It just says 101 on the site. It says Contoured Foundation. Even though they have names on the site, nothing's gonna pigeonhole you, if that makes sense. I don't know why that stuck out to me so much, probably because I see so many people that don't vary their brushes and don't think, oh, hey, I could use that for something else. It may actually work better for something else. So I just want to say that. It was like the first thing that came to mind once I received the brushes. So this is the 101 Contoured Foundation. This retails on its own for $34, and this is the shape of the foundation brush. This is pretty magical. If you have watched any of my tutorials, you know that I love the IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe dual-ended foundation brush, the number 7. I love it because I feel like you can just basically stamp your makeup on and be done. There's never any, you know, streaks or anything like that. This is the exact same way. I can stipple and stamp my foundation, which is my preferred method. And I never have streaks. It's bigger than the It Cosmetics one, so it covers a wider area of the face, so I get done with my foundation even faster. Just like with any other foundation brush, but I find it works even a little bit better with this one. If I want more coverage, like on my cheeks, I'm going to dot it on and then stipple it out. If I don't need as much coverage, like on my forehead, I'm going to pick it up from my hand, and then I'm going to apply it on my forehead like that. And there's just something really, truly magical about this brush. It doesn't get stiff, if that makes sense. A lot of times, especially with synthetic brushes, if you use it with cream products, it can get all of the gunk kind of stuck in there, and then it's not as malleable anymore. I don't find that at all with this. In fact, it is very versatile to where you can, see if I wanted to push it back like that, it almost stays like that until I want to push it back up. This also works for concealer. I honestly am one of the ones that probably never would have thought to do that. I am a sponge girl, but when I saw Lisa do it for her concealer, I tried it and it works great. I don't have to go back under my eyes with a sponge or anything. It's actually pretty awesome for concealer, and I love this straight edge because you can take it and really clean up the side of your eye. So that's the 101 Contour Foundation Brush. Now let's talk about the powder brush. This is, to me, the softest brush out of the bunch. I mean, they're all made of the same type of bristles, but I think it's just because this one has the most, and the way that the ferrule is pinched, it's just floppy goodness. Like, I love it when a brush flops like that. I don't know how else to explain it. This one is $36, and it is the 102 Large Powder Brush. This is so, so good. Now, I used it with a loose powder today, and what I do is I kind of press it into the loose powder, pick it up, and then I press whatever is in the bristles into the cap of the powder and only use that much. That helps me from not overusing powder. I pretty much do that with all of my brushes. I will say that I find this works a little bit better with loose powder than it does with pressed powder, only because of how loosely packed the bristles are. A lot of times with pressed powder, you're gonna want something a little more dense to pick it up. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying for me, I like it better with loose powders. I only have a couple of pressed powders that I use on the regular, and the majority of what I use is loose, so I find myself reaching for this a lot. This is quite possibly one of the softest brushes I own, and I know soft isn't the most important thing you should look for in a brush, but it does matter, especially when I am working on clients, and especially when I'm working on brides. I want them to feel very luxurious, and I use this on, I had a few trials this past week, and I used it on all my brides, and one of them was like, holy cow, what are you putting on my face? And it was this. That's how good it feels. Love, love, love that. I have not yet over applied my powder with that, which is a great thing. Now let's talk about the 103 Bronzer Brush. This is $34, and if you see it compared to the powder, you can see that it is much smaller, and it is much more pinched right here so that it expands a little bit more. It's a little bit more, I can't find my words. I don't know. It's just a little bit more. So this is what I used for my bronzer today. Again, this is very soft. The bristles are a little bit more loosely packed. I started out with my Lawless bronzer using this. This is only the second day I have used my Lawless bronzer, so I wasn't sure how it was going to work because it looks a lot darker in the pan than it does applied. I was not being able to build it up as much as I would like. That is not anything against the brush. I think it's just how the bronzer is. So I ended up getting my Note bronzer out, and I find that this works best with, again, because of the dense, not so densely packed bristles. It works best with bronzers that have a lot of kick up, that have too much pigment. It's going to ensure that you don't overuse your bronzer, and if you're like me and have a heavy hand with blush and bronzer, this is the kind of brush that you're going to want. Another reason that I love this is because it's also a perfect powder brush. A lot of times people will say, like when I talk about the Tom Ford bronzer brush or the Osmosis powder brush, they're like, my face is not that big. Like, I can't use brushes that big. So sometimes people don't want huge brushes. So this is also a great alternative to the large powder if you want something a little bit smaller. So that's the 103. bronzer brush. Now let's talk about the 104 Tapered Powder brush. I love how she calls this a tapered powder versus a blush brush, because while I use it for blush, it can be used for so many things. This is $36. So the demo, I use it for blush. That's how I've been using it. Again, I am an over applier. I have a very heavy hand when it comes to blush and bronzer. Always have, probably always will. I love how this just really just sweeps it on perfectly. I'm a believer of putting your blush all the way up to your hairline. This is the perfect size to be able to do that. Y'all know I have rarely ever strayed from my It Cosmetics blush brush, but I have been reaching for this nonstop. I love it for blush. But again, it's called a tapered powder. It can be used for anything. It can be used to set under your eyes. I don't think it's too big for that, so don't be scared to try that. You can use it for just setting if you want to do more of spotlight setting, so you just want to do like your T-zone and not your entire face. This is much better than going in with this, where you end up getting like, I end up setting my whole forehead. If I just wanted to set my T-zone, or if I wanted to maybe clean up my contour, lots of different ways you can use this. So the 104 Tapered Powder brush. Is that all of the face brushes? Yes, it is. So as you can tell, I love those. Now let's go ahead and talk about the eye brushes. I used all of the eye brushes in today's look. I used the Persona Identity 2 palette today, and this eye look is quite honestly the same eye look I have been doing for the past 5 days. I can't get away from it. I absolutely love it. And I have been using these brushes to do the look every single day. So let's go ahead and start out with the 201. So all of the eye brushes are the 200 series, the face brushes are the 100 series. So the 201 is called a Blended Crease. So that is what I used it for. This is much fluffier. It's the fluffiest out of all of the brushes. So it's going to give you more of a blown out look. So if you are really wanting a true transition color, or if you're wanting to buff something out on the eye, this is going to be the brush that you're going to want to use. I used it with the lightest color that I used on my eye, just to kind of put down a transition color, really buff it up. I did not care if this came up to my brow bone almost, so that's why I chose this one. If you are using something darker, you're probably going to want to go for one of the smaller brushes, but for an actual crease brush, this is fabulous. I do also want to point out that this is also great for setting under your eyes. It is also great for highlight. So many things that are good about this. It is good for blending out concealer if you wanted to use it for cream products instead of powder products. Again, so many different ways that you can use these brushes. I'm really like flying these around, sorry. I'm just getting so excited. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh, that was $18, excuse me. So I feel like that's very reasonable. This is the 202 Defined Crease. This is $16. Out of the 2 crease brushes, if I had to pick, let's focus here, thank you. I would say this is my favorite, but I don't want to pick because I love both of them. The reason I love this so much is because of the way it comes up into that point. It is so good at really darkening up that crease. So today I took that same crease color that I used with the 201 brush, and I just deepened it up just a little bit on the outer half of my eye. Still in the crease, I didn't take it down to my outer V or anything like that, but it deepened it up so perfectly right where I wanted to do it. I didn't take it anywhere I didn't want it. It didn't take it above the crease or below the crease. It is exactly where I wanted it. This is also a really good outer V brush, like really good, especially if you're working with a darker color that you don't want to be so intense. This will buff it out a little bit more. So yeah, can't recommend this one enough. I do really like that. Now let's talk about the 203 shader brush. This is in my top 3 of all of the brushes, and you're like, it's just a shader brush. Oh no. No, it is not. It is not just a shader brush. This retails for $18. When Lisa did her video, she said it mimicked a fingertip, and I'm like, yeah, but a fingertip mimics a fingertip. Does it really mimic a fingertip? I hope that it comes across on the demo how well this applies a lid color. Now, I typically use a much bigger brush than this as far as how tall the bristles are to put on my lid color. I am blessed with a little bit more real estate on my eyelid, and I know some of you have mentioned not being able to do some of the looks I do, at least exactly like I do them, because you don't have as much lid space. This is perfect for any size lid. If you have a hooded lid, if you have, you know, a mono lid, if you have super deep set eyes and you've got twice as much lid space as I do, it doesn't matter. This is gonna work on everybody, and it truly does, what was that? It truly does pick up product and apply it gorgeously. I love this shader brush. I know it seems like the most boring one out of the bunch, but there's just something about it that I really, really love. Two more brushes to go. The next one I'm going to talk about is the 205 Contoured Shader Brush. This is $18, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, this is my favorite brush out of the entire line. This is what I call magic sorcery. I don't know what it is about this brush, but I am sure you've heard me talk about it because every time I apply eyeshadow, I make some mention of it, that because my brow bones, and everybody's brow bones, are not symmetrical, I have an issue with shadow coming above the brow bone on this side where it won't come above the brow bone on this side. So I have to really pay attention when I'm working with my outer V especially to get them to match up. This one doesn't do that. It fits right into that area I can't tell you enough how this has changed my outer V game. I will say also that I love it on clients. I had my bride yesterday for a trial. She decided she wanted to deepen up her eyes a little bit after we finished everything. I mean, I had false lashes on and they were individuals, so they were like, boom, they were on her eyes. I had her face makeup all done, and I went back in with this brush and deepened up her outer V. It took 10 seconds on each eye. It blended it out itself. There was no fallout. It fit in there perfectly, even with the false lashes. I could talk about this all day long. So good. I adore that brush. And the last brush we're going to talk about is the 204 Smudge It Brush. I love the name of this brush. This is $15. It's going to be the least expensive out of all of them. This is another wonderful, versatile brush. As you can see in the demo, I use it to smudge under my eyes. The reason I like the size of this, it's a lot different from some of the fluffier brushes like my Wayne Goss number 20 that I typically use, because it's not as fluffy. It just does not have the same shape at all. But the reason I love it is kind of threefold. I can go under with a darker shadow if I wanted. Like if I wanted to do a really dark brown, I could easily do that and then smudge it out with a bigger brush, versus going in with a super dark brown with my Wayne Goss number 20, for example. It would be way too smoky. So I like the precision of this brush, the detailed size of it, to where I can do that. I can also lay it on its side like I did today and still pull it down because I do like an overly smoked under eye. I can also use it for my inner corner and brow bone like I did today. All I did in between was kind of rub it on a towel to get that darker color off of it, and it worked perfect. And it also works really good to smudge out an upper liner. I don't typically wear upper liners, but I do it a lot on clients, and I almost always smoke out a liner. I rarely ever keep it just like it is, and this is perfect for that. So perfect. So I do love that. This could even be used as a lip brush if you wanted it to. That's why I love that these are numbered and not named on the actual brush, because they're so versatile. I think I probably could have talked for another 15 minutes about these brushes, but if you got the gist, I love them. If I were going to pick a top three, it may not even be the top three y'all would have guessed at the beginning, but it is the foundation brush, the 101, the 203 shader, and of course the 205 outer V contour shader, whatever it's called. Those are my three favorite, but honestly, you cannot go wrong with all of them. I love them. Congratulations to you, Lisa, for launching an amazing brand of brushes. I cannot wait to see what you come out with next. If you have not bought these brushes, please consider buying these brushes, if for nothing else, to support an amazing woman, an amazing brand, an amazing concept of being kind, and receiving some pretty amazing brushes because of it. So thank y'all so much for watching. As always, be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. I am very excited about what I hope to be the next video coming up, so be sure and stay tuned for that. And as always, I hope y'all all go out and have a very blessed day.